We saw various ideas of selflessness largely focused upon in chapter 3. Now when it comes to chapter 4, it's more about how this wisdom can be seen in action. It's about kind of applying this wisdom in action. And here the fourth chapter starts off on a very interesting note. He says this is a very ancient knowledge. He says, I taught this knowledge long back, eternal yoga, to Vivasvat, who taught it to Manu and Ikshvaku and so on. It went down in the lineage of royal seers or Raja Rishis.
Of all the
and
solar lineage.
Solar lineage, and at some point of time he said this yoga got lost.
Yeah, Sakale Neha Mahata Yogo Nashtaha Parantapa. So with a long passage of time, what was taught
It's
was
lost.
Actually, he had told, I had taught this before, chapter 3 itself. He did not, he comes back to that.
Yeah.
Because there says, Lokesmin Dvivida Nishta Pura Prokta Mayanaga.
Exactly.
Gnana Yogena Sankhyanam.
told earlier.
Karma Yogena Yoginam. He had told that.
But that's also kind of reference to second chapter, but it could also mean that I have taught this long back. So it has
now
two
it's
layers.
very clear here.
Now it's clear.
Usually Pura is always considered as past.
Ancient past.
Purana, like that ancient. So here he makes it very clear. I had taught this to sun itself. You know, the sun is beginning of solar system. Ivam vivasvate yogam proktavanaha mavyayam vivasvan manave praha manu rikshvakave bravit. Evam parampara praptam idam rajarishayo viduhu sakale neha mahata yogo nashtaha parantapa. All the philosopher kings knew this, Rajarshis. Like Janaka is one of the Rajarshis, like that. Philosopher kings knew this. Sakale neha mahata yogo nashtaha parantapa. So that's a kind of stressing that it's Sanatana Dharma. He's not teaching anything new.
But why did this yoga get destroyed?
Yeah, that's a very interesting thing. Arjuna never asked that question.
Yeah.
So Arjuna only asked how you were there, you and I are about same time contemporaries.
In fact,
how
Krishna
come you were there?
Krishna is younger than Arjuna, if you see the dating.
He says, I have seen you, I attended your birthday party, we blew the cake, everything. And how come you were there before? Then he says, I was always there, you were always there.
But I know you don't.
I remember, you don't, he says. Yeah. But Arjuna never asked how it was lost. But that's the only question Arjuna, in fact, did not ask in the Gita. So I asked Hari to tell why it was lost, because now we have freedom here. If Arjuna had asked and Krishna had told, then we are bound by what Krishna said. So Hari's comment was, with long passage of time, tradition becomes more important and the truth is overlooked.
And which is also very interesting, because when we look at translations of Bhagavad-Gita and translation of other texts over time in different languages, whether it is in English or Hindi or Kannada, Tamil, every generation almost has a kind of responsibility, I would even say, to rewrite the text in a modern language for the readers and re-present the text for the modern
examples.
Modern examples. Because otherwise, if it is not done, it has a chance of getting lost. I mean, here lost doesn't mean it is consigned to the wastebasket forever, but it moves out of common parlance. Many people don't know it. But even today, for example, if we travel to different parts of India, small villages, everybody has a general sense of what is dharma, what is karma yoga, what is moksha, what is samsara. This is because of the great poets and writers and the Bhagavata Melas and a lot of people talking about it is why it is in common parlance. So it's not lost. But if we don't do that, if we only keep it as a kind of locked up with a few purohitas, it will definitely get lost.
It will be lost to them also. Exactly. Not to the
others, even for them.
It will be lost to the gatekeepers also.
Exactly. So this is a very important aspect that he talks about, this unbroken tradition, and also Sanatana Dharma is the oldest and also the most modern.
Exactly. It's revived. Every generation
revives it. And it's free to revive it. This is very valuable.
Open to revival, and it is revived. And take what is important for that time, you take that. Without discarding. That's how it has been preserved. In spite of so many innovations, everything, how our works are still preserved. Even today, people writing commentaries on them, it's amazing. No other culture was able to retain like this. Right? Even the Greek, Roman, all of them, they were much more powerful empires. Same thing about Egypt pharaohs. What after they discovered that Rosetta Stone, whatever the Europeans tell, that's all we know about them.
Exactly.
Right? That is the final word.
Yeah.
Whereas in our system, we have words by them also.
Yeah, words.
Original inside people also.
Exactly.
Yeah, we have all of them. It is that's very.
In fact, this is what Professor Hiriyana calls as a critical conservatism. That there is a criticality, but there is also compassion to the larger tradition that doesn't discard the old, but reshapes the old into the new, keeping the spirit as the same.
Yeah.
I think that's something that has held us in good stead. And then he has these couple of verses which are very popular, where it talks about yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata,
avatara,
and the paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma sansthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. This idea that Krishna will come back. If there is a problem today, he will come back.
So it is basically anyone who rises up to the occasion. He says that's why Krishna never put a number. There will be 14 avatars or dasha avatars or 12 avatars, nothing like that.
He doesn't even talk about the previous avatars.
He doesn't even use the number, he doesn't even give an example.
Because he says, it's very interesting he doesn't, right? Because he says, you and I have been alive forever. I know all the past life, you don't. He could have said, in my past life, I was Matsya, Kurma, Varaha, all these I have. He doesn't.
Yeah.
But here he kind of universalizes the idea of avatara. Anybody, all of us are avatars.
Yeah, that's the whole idea. Is we may be not as famous avatar as some other avatars, but every one of us rise up to the need
at some point of time in our life,
and do something which we others did not do, or we would not ourselves have done without that challenge. Things like that. We are all avatars. Like Joseph Campbell, I consider him as one of my gurus of Power of Myth. He says, hero with 1,000 faces.
Yeah.
He says all avatars have common feature, doesn't matter in which culture they happen.
Yeah.
Then he says that everyone is an avatar.
Yeah.
Even though the title says 1,000 faces, it basically means not 1,000. It is everyone. Everyone is an avatar. Yeah, like that. Like Sahasra Shirsha Purusha. It's not 1,000 number. So it is everyone is an avatar. And he talks about when a woman gives birth to a child, that's an avatar. She has done something which I and you cannot do.
Yeah, exactly.
Many people. So that's an amazing thing.
Absolutely.
Like that. Yeah, things like that. So he talks about. So Krishna uses the same concept without knowing Joseph Campbell ahead. That anytime there is a need, person arises, and we have seen this. History has shown that how many avatars happening. Even now, as we are talking, there are people leading and rectifying problems in any given situation.
And then one of the other concepts in the 4th chapter is when Arjuna asks, what is action, what is inaction? Then Krishna gives a kind of almost like a mystical reply. He says that a person who can see stillness in the midst of activity and the person who can see action in the midst of inertia. This is a seemingly contradicting thing, but actually it's explained in the text itself, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. When someone is just sitting and thinking all the things happening, so he's actually seeing all the actions, but kind of brooding over all those things in his mind. But looks like he's looking still. But there's someone maybe working whole day, but he's not at all concerned about any agenda, anything like that. He's just getting the work done. So he's acting, but he's actually as though he's like still.
And also I think there's another layer of meaning to this, right? Like for example, a person who can see a stillness. So there is a lot of action happening, but there is a stillness because the person doesn't think that he is doing the work.
Exactly. Yeah.
He is not having the ego. He just sees that the action is happening. So there is a certain stillness or calmness which is there. And the other case, it might superficially seem like inertia, but a wise person sees that there is so much action that is happening in order for this stability to be there. Now we may be sitting still as possible, but there is so much action happening inside and outside, and a wise person sees this also, that there is so much action that is behind this stillness. Okay. And also here he says, just by doing activities with discipline, not expecting anything from them, free from a sense of possession, you can stay away from evil. This is a very fantastic advice of kind of building up on what he said in chapter 2 and chapter 3, that the sense of working for the sake of working, which brings immediate joy, not some future reward, that expectation is not there and you're doing it with discipline and with joy, that takes away from bindings. Basically, evil here is probably a reference to binding, right? In the and being satisfied with what comes of by itself. That's another idea of the.
It's always true. Anytime we act for the sake of action, not any agenda, something have some self-interest in that, other than the action itself being happening.
And also
then
here,
there is less room for any kind of bad things happening.
And also here, later on, he says, even if you are a gravest of sinners, using the raft of knowledge, you can cross the ocean of sin. It's a very beautiful imagery here, that knowledge is very, very important. And even he says, nothing is as pure as knowledge.
Nahi jnanena sadasham pavitramiha vidyate.
Very pure.
Tatsayam yoga samsiddha kalenatmani vindati.
So
realize it due course. In due course. Within yourself, in due course, you realize.
Exactly. A person who keeps reading and learning, that wisdom is there within, which will manifest at some point by mulling over, contemplating and things like that, right? And then he ends with a very nice analogy again, where he says, using the sword of wisdom, you cut through this doubt and you destroy this doubt which is born of ignorance. You know, which is residing in your heart. Because of ignorance, they have a doubt whether to fight, not to fight. It says, cut it. It says, resort to yoga. And yoga is a good way to go forward.
In Sanatana Dharma, there is no sin. Sin is ignorance. That's why we say asatoma sadgamaya. We are all born with ignorance.
The problem is remaining there, not going towards illumination.
There is one more verse in this chapter, contentious verse, which is Chaturmarnyam Maya Srishtam Guna Karma Vibhagashaha Tasya Kartaram Apima Vidya Kartaram Avyayam. So here he is saying Chaturmarnyam Maya Srishtam Guna Karma Vibhagashaha.
It's only
related,
guna and karma.
To whatever your guna, what it relates to, how it guides your action.
Trait and action. Is nowhere mentioned about family, birth and all these things.
Each person has particular guna, and that makes conducive to some action. It gives a potential to some actions. So based on that, the fourfold classification. Then of course it describes it later, we will take it up, I think chapter 18, he clearly explains what those fourfold descriptions are. But here it is guna, karma, vibhagasha. Guna actually means all qualities, properties of that person. Because in science we used to say, when we are studying in Kannada medium, for oxygen also, oxygen guna. What is the guna for oxygen? What is guna for carbon dioxide? Like that. Guna is used for all the properties.
Traits.
Guna for gold is malleable and ductile. Guna for iron is strong and hard and things like that. So guna refers to all the features of that person, all the potentials. So whatever that makes them to, what kind of work it makes it conducive, that is guna, karma, vibhagashaha.
Exactly.
So,
and he also says that although I have created it, I am not, anyway associated with its mechanisms.
It's
in some
almost
sense.
like a natural phenomenon.
Exactly.
Here only I think about Nana, he says that knowledge, importance of knowledge, he says you can get it from a guru.
Go and serve the teacher.
Pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te gnanam gnanina tattvadarshinaha. It's very interesting. He says that tadvidhi pranipatena, that means you are surrendering, falling down. Sashtanga pranama, like that, falling down. That takes a lot of humility. Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya also. You serve,
but ask questions.
Ask questions. Good questions.
It's not about blindly imitating, following the guru.
Exactly.
Not obedience.
Question the guru.
Question.
And also serve the guru. That's very interesting, because a lot of times sevaya means they used to stay with the guru. The idea is guru can preach very well, no problem. Studied all the scriptures and give the authentic knowledge. But how the guru behaves in everyday life, you can only know if you live with the guru. When you are doing seva, you are preparing, washing his clothes, you are staying with the guru.
And how he deals with the trivial
Day-to-day issues of how we negotiate with a person telling tomato. That's also very important.
Yes.
How the guru behaves. That you can only learn not from the lecture or studying under the feet. Only when the guru operates life.
Yeah.
Actually, all these gurus used to be family people.
Yeah.
They were not left away saints like that, living in alone, not like that. They were all having wives, children, everything. Sometimes many wives. So, but how they behave, that's very important. The pariprasnena sevaya upadekshanti te gnanam.
Then he says, then they will impart that knowledge. They will do it.
Yeah.
If you do this, they will do this.
It will basically,
by
that association, you get that.
Yeah, exactly. And I think this sword imagery is a nice way to end the fourth chapter.